It has never been easier than it is today to start a business, hands down. Like, this is the easiest moment in history to start a tech company, XYZ business, you name it. We probably spent $250,000 to $500,000 to do something that you could do for 10 grand today.
What is the top line, the gross sales of your laundromat?
The average laundromat, at least for Laundrolab, is more in the like.
What's the square footage of that?
That's about. I remember the grand opening day, I remember giving this one woman a vacuum, and she started crying and sobbing and like latched on to me. And she's like, no one ever builds anything nice for us.
Alex, appreciate you coming on.
Thanks
Good
for having me.
Introduced us, and glad we were able to make it happen.
Yeah, appreciate you guys having me.
So, want to kind of explain this Franzy, and you gave me like the very rough overview. It's the Zillow for franchises.
You got it. So it's a platform where you can go and buy and sell franchise businesses, soup to nuts. If you need lending, if you need a franchise CPA, franchise attorney, you can search through 4,000 different franchise brands. Use AI to hone in on the top 5 for, Brian from Makan. Like, if you have a different operational background, a different financial picture, we use AI to curate a top 5 list for you.
Operating or future?
Already operating.
Okay.
So we launched in January. We've raised.
Sorry, are the franchises?
Oh yeah, franchises are already operating. It's every brand you can imagine, from McDonald's to Dave's Hot Chicken to the Gutter Brothers, gutter cleaning franchise. Everything.
Oh wow. And real estate included, or some is just the business?
It depends on the investor. Like, some people want to go and they want to buy the strip center up. They want to put 2 or 3 different franchise concepts into the strip center. Others, it's purely the opco, and they want to buy an operating business, run it, and build multiple locations out.
This is more your wheelhouse from here, sir.
So
I see the wheels spinning.
Franzy, you said it's like the Zillow. Do you have, how many businesses are for sale on there right now?
So we have 4,000 brands, and within those brands, they've got tens of thousands that could be for sale, right? Like Orange Theory, or again, Dave's Hot Chicken, or a fitness concept, or a Kid Strong, which is a kid's fitness concept.
Okay.
They might have any number of resale opportunities at any given time.
Are these sold from the franchisor, and they're looking for franchisees to buy and open up an existing location, or is it an existing location that the franchisee wants to sell?
So it's mostly de novo or new units. So if a brand has Tennessee still available.
So they want to expand, and they want an operator to come in and lease that location?
Yep.
Got it. And then what about McDonald's? Why can't someone just go through McDonald's and get it? Why go through the app?
So they could go through McDonald's, but usually people come through us because they're looking for the right fit. They don't know, is McDonald's right, or is it a different burger concept? What's available in my area? What can I afford? And they want help negotiating with the brand as well, and finding the right lending partner. So they don't know, should I use SBA? Should I use a Rob's rollover? Conventional lending, private lending?
Well, let me ask you another question. Kind of going back, what were you doing before? I know you started Laundromat.
Yep.
Right? And you guys sold that. How did you start? Like, what was your start in the entrepreneurial world? At what age, and what did you get into?
So like, the first real entrepreneurial thing that I did was a laundry and dry cleaning pickup and delivery business my freshman year at Wake Forest University. So I went to college there, wanted to do something entrepreneurial, and I saw, hey, washers and dryers are free in the basement of our dorm. Why don't I start charging students to do their laundry, and I'll just bring it into the basement and clean it for free. It's included in room and board. We grew that business, sold it for just under $300,000 when we graduated. So as a 22-year-old, I was like, this is the most money in the world. I'm rich. I don't have to ever work again. I was very wrong. Ended up working for Ernst & Young for 1.5 years, working for the man, doing something.
So you were a CPA?
So not CPA. I was a finance background, but we did consulting for like B of A and Wells, and I hated it. I was like, this is the worst thing ever. I love the laundry business more than EY. Because you could go so much faster, and it was yours. I mean, all the
do what you want.
Yeah, you guys get it. And so I knew I needed to do something entrepreneurial again. And this was in 2014 and 2015, when you saw all the Uber for X businesses pop up. You saw like Instacart and Shipt and Wag and Rover and DoorDash and Postmates. And I was like, someone's going to do this for laundry and dry cleaning. And if it's not me, I'm going to hate myself and like never, I'll regret it forever. So I started a company called 2U Laundry in January of 2016.
Is that with Cody Sanchez? Was she a part of that, or
So
that's so
she's
different?
like tangentially involved. I ended up buying her out and the rest of the investors from an Austin-based company called The Fold.
Got it. Because I do remember hearing about some sort of a merger at that time, or she was doing Fold.
She owned, I think I can say all this stuff on camera. Like she owned a very, very small part of that laundromat. Her videos suggest otherwise, but she owned a very small piece of that
Yeah.
business, and we ended up buying The Fold and cleared out the cap table and acquired that business.
Got it. And then once you acquired Fold, you merged that into Laundrolab?
Yeah, so we started franchising brick and mortar laundromats in 2021. So when we started 2U, we thought it would just be like a logistics company, Uber for X again, where we would have 1099 drivers. We'd go pick up your order, bring it to a laundromat, or a dry cleaner, and then have it cleaned and brought back to you.
Oh, so you were the platform that they wanted because they had the laundry delivery service that they were trying to scale.
Yep.
Did you guys build the backend infrastructure for the logistics part of it?
Yeah, so we built all the tech, all of the kind of delivery mechanisms, the driver app, the laundromat app, et cetera. And we thought we were just going to scale it out that way. And we realized over time, quality matters so much with people's clothing. You know, you might have an order with 40 pounds in it, and one shirt could be a $150 shirt, and you have to get every piece right. And that's when we realized we have to vertically integrate. We can't rely on the mom and pop laundromat owner because if you think about it, they're running a mailbox money type business.
Yeah.
It's grab cash and it's more passive versus Uber Eats and Postmates. They're going to a restaurant that has 20 employees. They're cranking out burgers, fries, chicken sandwiches, whatever it may be. And Uber Eats is just a demand aggregator for them. It's more orders coming in. And we thought, we can do the same thing for laundromats. And we were so wrong. The laundromat owner is not an operator at that level like a restaurant owner would be. So we started vertically integrating and building our own laundromats with a partnership with Electrolux. And so we started building laundromats. That worked really well. And
did Electrolux finance the equipment?
Yeah, so they basically acted as the bank because we would go to the SBA, we'd go to lenders, and they're like, you guys are 24 years old, like you don't have a ton of collateral to stand on. And Electrolux said, you guys are doing $2.5 million in pickup and delivery volume. You should own a laundromat, and on day one you're going to be profitable, and our risk is minimal. So we'll be the bank. We'll finance your first location. So we did that in Charlotte. It knocked it out of the park. It was a 6,500 square foot facility. It was actually an old McDonald's that we bought. Mm-hmm. They moved right across the street because a light rail came in and it blocked their visibility. McDonald's is one of the largest real estate companies in the world. They're like, we'll just sell this one and move 500 feet over. So we bought it from them, turned it into a laundromat, and it just did incredibly well because it opened up a new walk-in revenue stream for us that we didn't have before. It was all dual income households, pretty affluent customers. And we're like, let's build this like nice state-of-the-art kids play area, tech-enabled laundromat. And people loved it. I remember the grand opening day, Electrolux gave us a bunch of appliances to give away to customers. And I remember giving this one woman a vacuum, and she started crying and sobbing and like latched on to me. And I thought maybe she didn't like the vacuum or someone took it. I was like, what's going on? Is there, can I help you? Can I help you? And she's like, no, look across the street, and there's a strip center with the like burglar bars, the break-in, bars on the windows. And she's like, no one ever builds anything nice for us. And then I started tearing up a little bit. I was like, this is really cool that we've built this laundromat that takes the customer and the human being that uses this, that doesn't have their own washer and dryer, and put them at the center of everything we built. And it dominated. It crushed it because I think we cared about the community we were in. And so then we were like, we need to build hundreds of these. How do we do that? Laundromats aren't cheap. They're $1 million to get open. And so we started franchising at that point for that reason. It was, hey, we can bring capital partners on that care just as much about this as we do. They'll also be able to take on some of the labor risk and manage the team running the location. And then we can layer all of our pickup and delivery business on top of the physical franchise location. So that's where Laundrolab came in 2021.
And so when you opened up that location and when you went to franchise after, the back-end infrastructure you guys owned, obviously, and that's the delivery aspect of it.
Yep.
And I think the reason why that concept works so well is because the traditional laundry is open from like 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. to like 10 p.m. But then after 10 p.m., you could wash all the other clothes that you're getting from the delivery service, right? So you can run the machines from 10 p.m. on till like 3, 4 in the morning, I guess, like keep it open 24/7.
It's 100% like an asset utilization.
Yeah.
You got the equipment there regardless.
Yeah.
And even Monday through Friday, doesn't matter if you're white collar, blue collar, most people are working 9 to 5 in some capacity Monday through Friday. So not that many people are doing laundry at 11 a.m. on a Tuesday. And so even in the day, we could use it for the pickup and delivery, because if you're one of the more affluent households using the service, you set the bag out in the morning on your way to work, we come grab it, you're getting it back the next day, but we can clean it any time in that 24-hour window. So we'd be doing laundry at 2 p.m., 2 a.m., midnight, any hour of the day we had those machines running.
Because I used to own a laundromat when I was younger, and the reason why I bought it is because I wanted passive income. But then I ran into the problem at 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. I had customers coming in, and after 10 p.m. it was machine sat dead. So basically in a 30-day period, 15 days essentially was just wasted because it was only running on a 12-hour shift. Where I think with that model, it ran 24 hours, so you got a lot more money out of the space.
That was 100% it, and we like accidentally stumbled into it.
How much did it cost to build in the backend system? Because that is the I want to say like the icing on the cake for it, right? That was the actual like secret sauce to the laundromat business of building that backend infrastructure. How much did that cost, and how did you guys build that?
Over time, I mean, millions of dollars. We raised $35 million in venture capital. A lot of that went into product development, tech development.
Okay.
And so
I was thinking like back end is like 250,000. And then when you said millions of dollars, it made perfect sense. Why? Like because building an Uber backend logistics essentially is the logistics systems that you guys built for the laundry system. And then did you guys sell that with a company because I know you guys exited Laundromat, right?
So it's actually still going. So I'm on the board of the business. I hired a CEO.
Oh, you still own the business?
Still own the business. We hired a CEO last year because we got to a point where we have 30, plus laundromats open now. We've sold 120 of them. And the way franchising works is, the three of us would buy the rights to 5 locations.
Yeah.
And we would develop those 5 over, a 4-year period. So we've got 30 plus stores open.
What's the top line revenue right now from that?
It's like $15.5 to $16 million in revenue.
What's the plan? Are you guys planning on exiting that at any point or grow it?
Yeah, at some point. Our goal would be to get to like 300 to 500 laundromats open, laundrolabs, with 2U layered on top, and then to sell it to private equity or potentially a strategic. Like Tide is starting to franchise laundromats. So
I actually saw a Tide one the other day.
Okay.
I was like,
yeah, so
was that just a hoax thing, or that's an actual?
It's a real thing. Procter & Gamble is franchising. They have Tide cleaners right now, which is
what I saw.
The dry cleaner.
Yeah.
And they have Tide. I think they're actually all under the Tide cleaners umbrella now, but they have Tide branded laundromats as well.
So as far as site selection, how do you pick the right laundry sites? Like, do you guys have an internal team that says, hey, this is the best demographic for it, look in this specific area, this will do well based on our algorithm? Yeah, so I always say it's like a 3-legged stool, and this is where the benefit I think of franchising comes in, is the franchisor knows what the business needs from like a demographic perspective. Hey, what complementary businesses do you want to be nearby? How far from a competitor should you be? What mile radius are going to draw customers in from? So they handle that leg of the stool. The franchisee should likely know their local market. Like they know the area that they're looking at. They know, what new developments might be coming, gentrification, what areas that they feel confident in, et cetera, and also their own budget and comfortability. The last leg is that local real estate broker that knows even more of the new development things you should look out for, how to negotiate with the landlord or the landowner. And so it's typically those 3 coming together and figuring out and triangulating in on, what is the right site that's going to have the most success, because that is the most critical part of any retail-based franchise. You have to get that site right, because if you're wrong, you're there for years, 10 years, 5 to 10 years, and you can't fucking just move all that stuff 3 years in, especially all those washers and dryers. So let me ask you a quick question.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me ask you a quick question. What's the ideal traffic count, ideal population, and ideal location metrics that you guys look for a successful laundromat? Yeah, so for Laundrolab specifically, we wanted to be in markets that had at least 100,000 households in population. Within a 3 mile, 5 mile radius? So
So we'd start with the right city, the right MSA. So we would go in cities that had 250K households plus at first. And then we would look at a 3-mile radius and a 10-minute drive time. And that was typically at least 20 to 30,000 households within that radius. And the thing that we looked for more than anything was what number of households don't have access to a washer and dryer.
So
it was
apartment buildings, older apartments.
Exactly, older apartments, lower income areas. We would look for number of individuals in a household. So if you had a high number of individuals, typically it meant, one large extended family living together, maybe multiple families living in a place together. And so we would look for those types of indicators.
Did traffic count on the street matter at all?
Not a ton, because laundromats are so habitual, and a lot of people aren't like driving by and be like, oh, a laundromat, I'm going to go there now. It really became, we would want to go across the street from an existing competitor that was old. They're called zombie mats. They're like, half their equipment's busted. It's old. The machines are 10 plus years old. We would purposely go as close to those as possible, because the customer would see, hey, here's this new shiny thing that honestly isn't that much expensive, all things considered. Another 50 cents a load, or even 25 cents a load, might have been a 30 to 40% price increase. But in their head, it's like, I'll pay the extra $3 a week to feel like a human being, and to go to someplace that feels safe, that's new, that the machines are reliable, no one's going to take my stuff out, people are going to treat me with kindness. And so we would look for situations like that where we could come in and just draw from an existing customer base with a better product.
What key amenities would you say is vital? I mean, obviously you need to have a clean place, you need to have your washers, laundry, and some vending like soap dispensaries. What would you say like the top 2 or 3 absolute like important amenities that are like retaining customers there?
Yeah, so surprisingly, it's like some of the very basic stuff, like well lit, so safety. A lot of people reported feeling unsafe at traditional laundromats because it's dimly lit. It's a lot of single mothers or single parents going with their kids, and it's unattended. So there's no one there to, if things do get sketchy, there's no one to break things up or to kick someone out or to call the cops. So well lit, but also attended. We made sure every hour we were open, there was an employee there that could help people out, that could diffuse situations if it did get escalated. So those 2 things were massive. Comfortable seating, free Wi-Fi. And then some of the extra stuff that we did that I wish there was a better way to measure was we had these read, play, learn centers. So we had books come in every month from Scholastic that we would tell customers to take home, like take these home, have your kids, read them, use them, as you see fit. And we just get new books in every month. And I remember a lot of our customers, saying how, again, this feels like more than just like a thing where you're expecting me to come in, be a customer. You're actually trying to build up the community. And I think people recognize stuff like that, especially the right customers who appreciate it. And that just makes them come back every time. They're never going to leave to go to the competitor across the street, because we treated them like a person.
What about the auto soap dispensers directly into the equipment?
So I still think the jury's still out on that. So Tide's been a huge proponent of that. They got these auto injectors where, in Tide, in their store in Chicago, they don't even let you bring your own stuff if you wanted to. There's no way to actually pour it in. You have to use.
What if you don't want those chemicals or whatever it might be?
You have to use it, which is wild to me, because there is another laundromat right across the street from one of their flagship stores in Chicago. And every time I've gone to go look at that store, just because I've wanted to see what they're doing, and the store across the street that's older, kind of a zombie mat, is just crushing them. And I think it's because Tide went like too premium. The auto injection you have to use, and the cost of doing a load there is not just like 20 to 30% higher. It's maybe double or 3 times as high. And so for a cost sensitive customer base, they have a limit, right? They'll pay 30, 40, 50% more to be treated better, to have nicer equipment, et cetera, but 2 to 3x plus auto injection where I can't have my own stuff.
Yeah, like I've had reactions to certain laundry detergents.
Yeah, what if you don't want Tide or Gain? And that's the idea is smart. We started testing it in one of our locations, but as an optional thing. And we had like 55 to 60% adoption. I think people thought it was cool. You made it the default option. But I think forcing 100% of your customer base, you're isolating 40%, which is a lot.
That's a good chunk of your revenue.
Yeah.
What is for the typical size of your of laundromat, and what is the top line, the gross sales, and what are the expenses normally, and what is the net profit for an operator? Because I know having an employee is expensive, so I think you might have to have a larger location so that you can afford to pay an employee. What's an ideal location size
So I'll share the outlier location we had at first, and then I'll share the average. So our first store in Charlotte, when we were doing all the pickup and delivery, we were like, this has got to be a mega facility because we're doing.
And it's a flagship.
Yeah, it's the flagship. Plus, we had so much pickup and delivery, and we're like, we want to be able to do it all in house, all in our location. So this was like a 6,500 square foot facility. The average laundromat's like 1,500 to 2,500 square feet. They're small, kind of hole in the wall. Equipment's crammed in. There's nowhere to sit. There's little folding space. We like 3x your average laundromat. And the beauty of it was Monday through Friday, when laundromats aren't busy, we had these roll up doors where we'd roll up the rest of the space so that, we'd roll up the doors, and we would use the whole facility to do all of our pickup and delivery volume. But then on, the weekends, on the weekends, we would open the doors and make it open to the public. So it became one of the largest laundromats in the country. On the weekdays, we would close off those roll-up doors so that the walk-in customer only had access to a fourth of the facility while we were producing all of our pickup and delivery in the back. And so that was the model. It worked really well. We've done, over 1.3 million in revenue out of that location, which for a laundromat is phenomenal. It's full service. It's pickup and delivery. It's self-serve. It's drop-off, wash, dry, fold. And that has...
What's the operating cost?
So our EBITDA margins there were like 42%, like very good margin, very good revenue. The average laundromat though, I'd say is more in your, at least for LaundroLab, is more in the like $600K to $1 million range.
What's the square footage of that?
That's about 3,500 square feet, 3,000 to 4,000.
So 3,500 square foot laundry should generate about $600,000 in revenue.
Yep.
And how much net profit should that location make after it pays the employees, the rent, the overhead, maintenance, everything?
Yeah, it depends on the market, but it should be about a 30% EBITDA margin.
So $180,000.
Yep.
So for $600,000, it should make $180,000. And typically, a business is worth about 3 times the net.
Yeah. So traditional laundromats will sell for anywhere from, I've seen 1.5x to
top line, or 1.5
EBITDA.
net?
I've seen 1.5x to 3.5x.
Depending on the location, right?
Depending on the location, but also if it's part of a franchise system, they get like another 1 to 2x on EBITDA.
Yeah,
because it's got this stability of a brand and a parent company providing technology updates and training upgrades and marketing support. And so a lot of franchises will trade for a higher multiple.
Just for the audience, EBITDA is basically the net profit of the business.
Yep.
It's earnings before income tax, depreciation, amortization. And that is, so if the business grosses $600,000 a year, you subtract all the 70% for expenses, which covers your employees, your payroll, your rent, your sales tax, your accounting fees, everything, banking fees, and you net about 30% of the gross, which is your EBITDA. And that 30% of $600,000 is $180,000 a year. And then to determine the value of that, we said 1.5 times EBITDA or 3 times EBITDA. It's 1.5 times $180,000 a year, which would give you the value of the business, or 3 times. So 3 times $180,000, depending on the location. If the location is great, you get higher. And you said if it's a franchise, you get another bump on the EBITDA.
Like 1 to
so maybe
2
4
turns.
times. So an easy number, if a business is netting you $100,000 a year, 3 times EBITDA means that business is worth $300,000. 4 times EBITDA means it's worth $400,000. And if you want to get an SBA loan, you buy that business for $400,000, you put 10% down, which is $40,000, and you could buy a business making you $100,000 a year. Or in this scenario, a business that nets you $180,000 a year, you can buy for, let's say, 2 times EBITDA, means that business is selling for $360,000.
Mm-hmm.
You put $36,000 down, and if you don't have $36,000, you can get a credit card and move the money from a credit card into your checking account. Use that as a $36,000 down payment, get an SBA loan, get this business that's making $180,000 a year. From that $180,000, you can make the payments to your credit card and to the SBA and pocket the rest, essentially.
You got it.
Perfect. And then you can just scale that.
Yep.
And pay down the SBA loan, eventually sell these locations, then you have a bunch of money and you can roll it into larger locations and do more.
And where the real like wealth building, empire building, I think comes in is, and I use franchising as an example just because that's the world that I know. But I've met guys that started in 2018, background was in private equity, owned a butcher shop in New York, and then started getting into Orange Theory. Had 2 locations to start. he starts just parlaying because he starts raising private, debt or private equity to buy some of these portfolios of existing franchises or de novo, new units that he's developing. He's up to 148 units in 7 years. Now, he doesn't own 100% of this himself. He's got investors that come in, but he owns 30 to 50% of the equity in this portfolio. 140 locations is probably a business doing 350 to 400 million a year in revenue. He's got to be close to worth, $1 billion, the whole portfolio, and he owns 30 to 50% of that.
Let me ask you a question. As far as top line rent, your rent, the maximum rent these laundromats can afford to pay, what percentage of revenue can like, for example, if a location's doing $600,000 a year, from commercial real estate, I know that location can afford 10% of that for rent. So $5,000 a month or $60,000 a year. That's a good ratio, healthy ratio where that business will survive.
Yep.
Usually whatever it'll do top line, meaning the gross sales, 10% of that is the most that location can afford to pay rent. If it goes to like 12% or 15%, the business could fail. What is it for the laundromat? How much of the gross can you allocate towards rent to make sure that it still survives that location?
So for it to survive, so I know right now what it is on average, it's like 8 to 13% of revenue is typically what people are paying.
Allocated for rent?
Allocated for rent.
Got it.
And then utilities, you want to be in the like 12 to, they used to be in like the 20%, because I mean, that's most of your cost, right? Is electricity, water, gas. But some of these new efficient machines are crazy. They'll spin at, it's like 400 Gs. It's, to put that into perspective.
And it helps with the drying too.
They'll dry to the point where you only have to put it in the dryer for 15, 20 minutes sometimes, whereas, traditionally it was like 40, 60 minutes. I mean, cutting it in a third, it's crazy.
And I remember the top loading washers used to take like 22 gallons of water to wash per load. I said load. And then the front loading washes were like 8 gallons of water. And I'm sure they're much more efficient now.
Now what they'll do is they'll do this thing where you throw your clothes in, and it does a few like oscillations because it's weighing the clothes, and it puts just the right amount of water in for that amount of clothes.
Can you put solar panels on the roof of the laundromat to reduce the electric bill as well?
We haven't yet, but I've had a ton of solar companies like solicit us and come in and say, hey, we can do this. There's a government subsidy, a program. So I know some people do that. You have to be in the right area, and you got to do the math on it.
The electric bill has to be high enough for it to justify.
Or the subsidy needs to be big enough to justify it.
You touched on another topic that I want to get into that's really a good idea. So there's 2 ways of making money with this business. And obviously we'll parlay all this into the other app and where it came from. Two things. One is commercial real estate, where if you have a shopping center, you could bring this in as a tenant, because if you want to fill it with a tenant, you could put that in there. Put a little bit higher rent, like 15% of gross, and that'll help raise the value of your real estate.
Yep.
And then you're also making additional income from the laundromat itself. And then the other part was buying multiple franchises and just growing the franchise portfolio on that. 2 ways of doing that. Do you have any operators or any experience right now, people buying from the laundromat, from the Laundry Lab, buying those locations specifically to fill their shopping centers, to raise the value of their shopping centers?
There's this guy in New York, and I won't say the name of his laundromats, but he owns like 90 plus of them now. And this guy's like a gangster at this. He's so good at it. He'll buy the strip center, he'll buy the building, puts a laundromat in, and to your point, he like pays way above market rent.
Just to boost the value of the real estate.
Just to boost the value of the real estate, goes to the bank.
Refinances,
pulls cash out, goes and buys another one, puts another laundromat, and it does the same thing.
Because that's cheaper than getting an SBA loan.
Yeah.
So when you do it that way, it's easier to pull money out. And in commercial real estate, it doesn't matter what the property next door sells for. It only matters how much rent you're collecting. And if you're 20% more rent than the neighbor, your property is worth 20% more. So you could borrow 20% more cash.
He'll basically run the laundromat at break even intentionally just to make the commercial real estate look so attractive to the bank.
Got it. So this obviously leads us into the app now. Where was the idea? Where did the idea come from getting the how do you pronounce it? Franzy? Franzy. So how did the idea of Franzy come to be?
So when we started franchising the laundromats, me and my business partner at the time knew nothing about franchising. I think his stepdad owned a Signorama, which is a franchise. So that was the extent of it. And so we got this crash course in what's an FDD, a franchise disclosure document, and how do you structure it, and how do you bring this to market, and how do you sell
How much did that cost to like do all the paperwork? Because I know the paperwork of creating a franchise is a lot too.
So Dan and I, my co-founder of that business, always got a lot of good feedback of like, you guys are like sponges. You have no ego. You know what you don't know. And when you don't know something, you go seek, experts out. And so we just were asking all these guys and, gals that had franchised businesses before, how do we do this? Who's the right attorney to work with? Who's the right consultant to do it? So I think all in it cost us, it's probably like 60 to 80 grand to franchise the business, which is a lot, but to do it right.
It's not. Normally it's 250,000. So you guys got to.
I think that's like, you probably are paying the wrong like there's people out there that have franchised a ton of systems that will help you. And I think be ready.
Because I know entrepreneurs that have paid like $250,000 and it is a lot.
That's crazy.
It is a lot.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So like the lawyer, like you can find a really good franchise attorney that'll do the legal docs for 25 to let's call it 40K. And like that should be the majority of the expense. So that means that other 200K is someone consulting with you. And like that shouldn't be that much to talk about like area development agreements and what royalty should you charge and what should your franchise fee be. That's really the value that they're providing, is how to structure the strategy out of the gate. And so we found a really good mentor in Charlotte that has a portfolio of like 12 different home services franchises. It's called Homefront Brands. And there are a bunch of like window cleaning, gutter cleaning, et cetera. And he is just a phenomenal franchisor, helped us lay out the documents, found the right attorney, et cetera. So we were all in for 80K. I think the normal person probably will pay like 100 to 120. But you can get franchised and set up. The biggest cost for you to do that though is the work and the sweat equity you put into building that initial business that you're about to franchise. Like the three of us should never be like, oh, we have this idea for plant growing franchise and we never ran a retail store before. We don't have a proof of concept. There's a lot of people that try to go and do that. And that's the stuff that like crashes and burns. Even if you have a beautiful brand and this great idea, like the three of us really need to run that location first, get it profitable, likely open a second, a third, a fourth before we even start thinking to franchise. So that's the real cost of franchising, is like get the sweat equity, build out the proof of concept, get it going. And so with Laundrolab, that's exactly what we did. We had a couple of corporate stores open. We're like, I think we should franchise because we keep getting inbound interest to do it, but also we have ambitions to be a nationally recognized brand and to build hundreds of laundromats. We either need 100 million plus in equity or debt capital, or we have to franchise this part of the business. So that's what we started doing in 2021 with Laundrolab. And that's what the idea for Franzy came to be, is we saw how most brands go to market, how they sell their concept. A lot of them work with franchise brokers, and they charge a 60% commission on the franchise fee, 60. And so Zero, this emerging brand that needs those franchise fees to invest in training and marketing and site selection, and you're hemorrhaging out 60% on every deal you do. It's just not sustainable and it's not scalable. So as a brand, we were pissed off. We'd go to these conferences, talk to all these other brands. They were pissed off. We're like, why isn't anyone doing anything about this? And all the brands are like, well, I'm so busy getting my stores open, managing my corporate locations. Like, I hate it, but I don't have time to figure out a solution for that. I think your typical like West Coast tech entrepreneur, they're so busy on like AI or blockchain or whatever the new hot concept is. They're not thinking about franchising really. So the overlap isn't there. And the brokers themselves are all like fat and happy, making 7 figures a year as an individual. So they're not going to change that. So it's just been this like weird, thing that just has happened the last 20 years, and it's the way it's always been done. And so Chris and I were like, we should build a Zillow-like platform where it does all the things that a broker does, which is a lot of it's like due diligence, finding the right fit, finding the right brand, seeing data about the brand. What's this going to cost me? What's the potential upside? What's available? Getting access to lending and capital partners. All those things can be done with technology and a platform, just like Zillow, we can all shop for homes on. And eventually you might want to use a real estate agent or someone to help kind of facilitate. But the big difference between buying a franchise and buying a house is, I'm selling my house to you. Like you kind of want some intermediary because you and I aren't going to have a relationship most likely after this happens. And it's good to have this unbiased, objective person there. But in a franchise business, if I'm about to sell you a Dave's Hot Chicken and I'm the franchisor, you and I are going to work together the next 10 years. And this relationship actually really matters. And so the broker doesn't have as much of a place. It's really more you want someone to be in your corner to think through, how should I finance this? How should I structure it? Should I do 10 or 5? Like you want someone to help you be a sounding board for those questions, but it's not a 60% commission broker. And so that's where the idea of Franzy came, was like, how do we democratize this whole business buying process, make it way more accessible and you're comfortable for people to approach. And that's what we're trying to do.
Fee to go on the site?
So we made it as frictionless as possible. It's free for any potential franchisees or prospective buyers to use. We want them to have access to educational resources, so franchising 101, kind of like masterclass style resources. We want them to have access to the whole data set of brands, so 4,000 plus franchise brands that are out there. We want them to have access to free coaching. So all of this is free for the prospect. Similar to a broker, the brand pays us a success fee. The difference though is that we get a flat dollar amount regardless of the brand. So if it's Dave's Hot Chicken or it's Gutter Brothers, gutter cleaning franchise, we make the same amount of money so that we're unbiased and objective in the process. So we're not recommending brands to you that are paying us twice as much because their franchise fee is higher. So think of it as like a franchise fiduciary, like a financial advisor that is really looking out for your best interest.
And as far as you said, how many brands do you have on the site now?
We've got about 4,000 brands on the platform.
So how many actual businesses is that?
So we're working on resales now. So it's 4,000, de novo new territory brands that you could buy. We're starting to develop a resale marketplace where the three of us own 10 Orange Theories. We want to list 4 of them. You could list them on Franzy and buyers could come in and say, hey, I'm looking for...
So a secondary market.
Exactly.
So right now it's just brand new locations.
Correct.
For brands that want to expand. What kind of due diligence did you guys do on those companies to make sure they're not like, just fizzle away type locations?
So this could be the wrong answer, the right, or the wrong approach, but our thought was let capitalism do its thing. So we actually let every brand come on, but we put like a spotlight. We have a call out on, hey, this brand has only been franchising for less than 6 months. So if you're a risk averse, you maybe don't want to look for these brands. And we figure all that out with our AI recommendation engine. So if you come in and you tell us, I'm looking for something that's stable. My personality is...
So as the buyer, I fill out a questionnaire about my risk profile, my experience level, and what I want.
Yep.
And it'll just assess risk-based type of deals for me, right?
Our AI is looking at like 10,000 plus different parameters across the brand and the FDD, census data, Bureau of Labor Statistics data, Google My Business listing data. And then we're also taking about 100 different parameters from you. The more answers you give us, the more accurate it gets. So some people do 12 and they're like, oh, I'm good. I like these 5 brands. Others are like, I'm going to give you every bit of information I got because I want the tool to be as effective as possible. But it really falls into 4 main buckets. It's your risk appetite, your financial readiness, your operational experience, and then your goals and interests. So even things like I like fishing, I like being outside. We factor stuff like that in just to show you things that might have you outdoors more. And maybe you say, this is important to me because it's a legacy for my kids. All right, so what's like a business that you could actually have a family running that's better suited for that than say, something that maybe is more intense or maybe more physically dangerous where you're having people climb ladders or using safety equipment. You probably don't want to run a business with your family doing that. So we factor all of that in.
Did you use the same team that built the back end of Laundromat to build this website for you guys with the tech side of it?
So it's a different team, but some of the same team members have come over and started working with us that have franchise experience and know the space and know the problem. But the tech team itself is different.
Business question for you. Where did you guys go for the entrepreneurs out there that want to build their own app or business or tech business? As an entrepreneur yourself, successful, where did you guys start, or how did you put that team together? Or where did you first look to put a team together to build the back end for Laundromat?
Yep. So the first thing I'd say is like, I know what I'm good at and I know what I'm not good at. Like I'm good at raising capital, assembling a team and finding, the right strengths and weaknesses and group of people to put together. And I think I'm good at figuring out kind of the strategic mission and getting people aligned and rallied around that. Mm-hmm. So with this business, I knew immediately, I was like, I need someone that's good at the things that I'm not, is technical, knows product, knows, scaling and building that kind of infrastructure. And so Chris, my co-founder that's here with me, is phenomenal at product design, product roadmap, thinking about how do users actually want to interact with a software like this to make a complicated decision. Buying a business isn't this like, oh, I'm going to go into the store and buy a candy bar type of decision. And so how do you like elegantly and articulately show that? And Chris is really good at taking very complicated things and making them very simple. But from there, he was using software and overseas resources at first, just because we want to get a prototype out. Like how do we get an MVP out without spending the bank?
What's an MVP for the viewers?
A minimum viable product. So it's like the analogy that I use, and I learned this in like a product course that we did. It was like, if you woke up at 7 a.m. and you had to get to work by 9 a.m., what would you do in that 2-hour period? And people like map it out. They're like, I'd shower, I'd brush my teeth, I'd get some breakfast, I'd hang out with my kids, all these things. They list off like the dream morning. And the way to think about an MVP is like, well, what if you slept through your alarm and the alarm clock went off at 8:50 and you got to get to work at 9 a.m.? What are you going to do? And they're like, I'd probably just make sure I wasn't naked and I'd get in the car and I'd get to work. And like, that's the MVP. It's like, what's the bare minimum you need to do to still show up on time or to get something out the door?
What does it typically cost to develop an MVP online or for a business?
So for Franzy, you could argue that like, hey, as long as the website can, take someone's phone number and email or let them call you, like that's all you need. And so like that could have cost us $15, right? Or like buy a domain and crappy domain and have a form that just says like, give us your email and phone number if you want to buy a franchise. We knew that this process is going to be complicated. We wanted to have inventory. We wanted to have all these brands that we could show, on the platform. And so we did like an MVP plus, let's call it. And to do that, we spent about $30,000 to $35,000. So if you want to do like a really robust, like well-designed, very functional MVP, you're looking at like 30 to 50 grand.
And so your partner, Chris, basically laid out the architecture of it and you guys outsourced it to different countries to do the actual programming?
Yeah, we'll give that group a shout out. It was called Build. They worked with this.
Is it build.com or?
It's like BYLLD.com, and they work with a lot of Y Combinator companies. So for those that don't know, Y Combinator is like one of the best startup accelerators in the world. They had Dropbox go through. They had, I think Airbnb went through. I mean, huge startups have gone through it. So Build does a lot of the MVPs, the minimum viable products for Y Combinator.
And how did you guys trust that their programming was good? And that, because a lot of times people, when people hire overseas programmers, their code is not usually the best. They're cut and pasting from different codes and they're putting it in there and just doing kind of a half-ass project for you. Did you have someone here stateside, or did Chris kind of oversee the code to make sure it worked properly? There wasn't any errors? Because you've heard horror stories. You'll spend 10 grand overseas and then you get the code back. You're like, man, this is terrible. I got to spend another 10 grand somewhere else.
Yep.
Is Build a website that has pretty much like checked people and verified people and making sure that the quality that you're getting is up to par?
Yeah, so I think it's like anything. It's like going to a mechanic or finding the right real estate agent. Like you're going to ask your network that you trust. You're going to look at their reviews. You're going to do references. And Chris did the same thing. He's like, all right, he's worked with a bunch of this group has worked with a bunch of Y Combinator companies. We've looked at their portfolio.
Okay.
All right, we trust them. And we knew what we were getting into. It's like, this is good for an MVP. Our expectations can't be that they carry us all the way, but they're going to carry us at least to here.
Until you raise enough funds where you can hire better.
Get enough proof of concept, get traction, and all right, now let's bring some of it in-house. We have fully dedicated individuals, very skilled. We get to interview them, pick the right people. And the crazy thing is, and I know Chris would harp on this, is there's tools now called Lovable and then Bolt.io that are basically like ChatGPT that you can prompt them to build whole applications, whole websites, whole backends, just by saying, hey, I'm trying to build an app that allows me to book podcast guests, and it'll be able to pull in attribution to our paid marketing campaigns, and you can log in and book time and whatever parameters you want. You just kind of describe it like that. It'll build out whole MVPs within like 2 minutes for you.
So how much did you spend on the back end of Laundromat back then, and how much would it cost you today with the tools you have now?
So I've never actually thought about this, and that's a great question. Back in the day when you didn't have these tools, or it wasn't as
easy to access.
We're talking 5 years ago.
Yeah, and like, which is nuts that it was not that long ago. I mean, we probably spent $250,000 to $500,000 to do something that you could do for 10 grand today. It is getting scary efficient.
Becoming a lot.
Cheap.
So anybody out there can essentially, for a lot less, it's not, I mean, from 250 grand to 10,000 is
that's a lot more attainable for most.
It has never been easier than it is today to start a business. Hands down. Like, this is the easiest moment in history to start a tech company, XYZ business, you name it. Like, there are so many accessible, relatively cheap tools to get you very far, very quickly.
So you fired off 3 or 4 pretty good ones. Can you give us your top 10
tools to use?
Companies, like you said, Built is one of them. What were the other?
Lovable's the other one.
What does Lovable do?
So it's similar to Bolt, where it's prompt based. engineering. They call it like vibe coding.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know because it's kind of, I guess you're just chilling doing it. You don't have to be an engineer to
Yeah.
be good at it. Those two from like a coding perspective. Gosh, there's a thing called ManyChats that allows you to
ManyChat's great.
automatically respond to messages on social. A lot of people use Notion for like document management and organization. Chris probably has a couple of good ones that he's.
Chris, you got some good ones for us?
Gamma, if you're making,
What does Gamma do?
to make proposals or presentations.
For proposals and presentations, okay.
Honestly, at this point, Claude code has gotten so good.
Claude?
Claude, just like straight up Claude code. You can,
So that's for coding, Claude code.
yeah, just on Claude, if you're like, hey, I want to build something, they'll build the artifact that you can use.
Okay.
That is like a fully functioning app.
So for the kids and the young entrepreneurs out there, if they had a concept, they had an idea that they wanted to build a software as a service company or a tech company or anything, you can essentially create your concept, create an MVP, send that over to Build for up to $30,000, essentially get a good viable business prepared and built. Then to raise capital, there's a lot of companies. You would do it with credit cards. You could do it family and friends. What are some techniques that you've used to raise money once you have an MVP product to be able to scale that further?
Yeah, so I'll share the story of 2U Laundry and Laundromat because we were 23 years old when we started that. We didn't know what we were doing. We didn't have experience. We were kids essentially. And my advice to people getting started, whether you're that age or you're in your 30s or 40s and you're doing this for the first time, is like just tell your story to anyone that'll listen. Get on podcasts, go pitch at the local like startup hub or accelerator. Like just get your story out there, and you'll eventually attract, you know, some individual or group of individuals are like, I've seen this guy everywhere. Like he's super passionate. He's thoughtful about what he's doing. I'm going to throw 25K in. And you get enough of those individuals, you can get 300 to 500K relatively easily, I'd say, from angel investors. And that should be enough for you to go prove that next set of milestones. The main thing with raising capital is like, there needs to be a purpose for it. It shouldn't just be like, oh, I want to pay myself 100K a year to go do it. It should be, I know with this money, I can go unlock the next $500,000 in revenue. And then you got to put your money where, you know, your mouth is and go prove that traction, hit those milestones. And so that's the advice that I have is like, just tell the story as much as you can. The second time around with Chris, you know, we're both serial entrepreneurs. It made it infinitely easier. Like, you know, we made a couple of calls, a few emails, and like we raised $1.1 million with no product, no revenue, nothing.
Well, that's because you have a proof of concept. Going back to when you first did it, how much did you raise for a laundromat? Your first, I guess, friends and family round or a round?
We raised $400,000. And we talked to probably 100 people before we figured that out.
Who gave you the money and what increments were they writing checks?
Yep. So we had a couple of venture capitalists actually interested. So we went to Raleigh. We were pitching all the VCs. And the thing is, we had bootstrapped at that point up to 60K in monthly revenue on the laundry business. So the good thing about the laundry thing we were doing is you immediately had a product, you immediately had a service. We didn't have to wait to go sell like some big enterprise client or some 180-day sales cycle product.
How are you acquiring these people to sign up?
We would go to these multi-unit apartment events. And the funny thing is we'd go on the nights that they had like community events for like free pizza just so we could eat the pizza as well and not have to pay for food. Like we were like that like hacky hustler type. We had 5 dudes living in a 3-bedroom apartment. It was my mattress, my co-founder's mattress, another dude's mattress at the foot of our bed, all in one room for like 10 months. We lived that way. Didn't go out on weekends, drove Uber in the morning just to like get by and pay rent and have enough money for some food. But we'd go to these apartment buildings and be like, we'll do your laundry for free. We'll do it for $10 just to get the word out, get customers using it, get feedback. Again, just telling that story, getting the brand out there as much as we could. And then I think raising capital became not easy, but
that's easier once you have that story.
We had some traction, some hustle. Like we showed, hey, we're the guys to figure this out. We did it in college. We got 5 dudes living in a 3-bedroom apartment. We're committed. We're going to these apartment events. We've got a couple hundred customers, 60K in revenue. Like, give us the money so we can go professionalize this a little bit.
Most investors that hesitate giving money, the first thing they look at when you're asking for money is what are the salaries? The fact that you guys were living in an apartment, bootstrapped, basically just going to eat free pizza at events shows that the money is going to be invested properly into the business and not like, oh, I need $100,000 salary. I got to, get a babysitter for my dog and I need cappuccinos every morning. The money's not getting wasted. So that's a lot easier. When you guys raised 40,000, what was your average check size that you were like getting?
I'd say average was 25 grand. So a bunch of individuals wrote $25,000 checks. One individual wrote 100. You had some of those larger checks come in.
Are they still investors in the business?
Yeah. So with 2U and Laundrolab, during our Series B, we raised $20 million.
So Series A, Friends and Family round was 400,000.
Yep.
What was your Series A?
So then it was a seed round. We raised $2.5 million.
Okay.
And then our Series A was $6 million we raised. And then our Series B was $20 million.
So what was the valuation from the 400,000 people to your Series C?
Yep. So it's the 400K round was at like $1.8 million valuation.
Okay. And seed?
Seed was 2.5 on. It was like an 8.9. It was like $9 million valuation.
Okay. And then A?
And then it was $24 million valuation.
Okay.
And then B was a $71 million valuation.
And then C?
We didn't raise a C.
Okay. So they went from buying it at a $1.8 million valuation to $71 million valuation. Jeez. And your exit is probably with a B on it.
I mean, that would be ideal if we can get to become a national brand where if we get to 300 to 500 locations open, the exit outcome could be $1 billion plus.
Let me ask you a question. With the laundromat, another question. Have you guys ever thought about a subscription model? It's difficult. I've been like trying to figure out if it's possible, but have you guys explored that?
For the pickup and delivery, we do subscription. So you could buy like, $120, $130 a month package where we come to your house 3 times a month, use it or lose it. If you forget one or you're traveling, like, you lose that one. For the walk-in laundromat customer, we've like loosely tested like a loyalty program or, an all you can eat thing, but it's just people I don't think are thinking that way yet, or they're not ready for it. And it's a customer base that's pretty price sensitive. And so to say, hey, it's $30 a month, they're like, screw that. I want to pay the $2 a time. And you can use an app, you can use credit card, you can use cash. We wanted to be omni-channel because some people come in, they don't even have a bank account open. And then you got the individuals that have an iPhone and they're using an application. They want the loyalty points. And so we had to take 3 different forms of payment.
So when I owned the laundromat in 1998.
That was before iPhones, bro.
Listen, my nightmare was going in every single day, taking out all the quarters, putting them in the change machine and taking out like this much in dollars and going to the bank and like converting this into like...
It's the worst.
That was the worst thing in the world. And then the lint. I had no idea that the lint in the dryers had to be cleaned twice a day. And it was like ton of lint, like trash bags of lint.
Wait, do customers not clean the lint when they...
No,
There's
it's
like,
in the
they're
bottom.
under like lock and key.
Yeah.
Got it.
And it's like, I thought it was like passive. I bought it because I thought it was passive. Then I realized, I'm like, this is not passive, dude. It's got to be cleaned. You got to take out the lint. You can't trust anyone because it's all cash. You got to take the money. And how has that changed with now dealing with cash and employees?
So it's making it a little bit more passive if you have like app only or card only stores, because you don't need to.
Correct.
You're not dealing with as much cash, or you have cash in a central location in one point of sale, versus if you think about each machine taking cash and you got 30 or 40 washers in there,
pick them all out.
That's like 90 point of sales you got. That's crazy. That's
But
like
Alex, back in the day, you could sell cards,
Yep.
and then there was people outside your laundromat skimming the cards and like selling the cards for like $100 cards for like $20. So like that was happening back then. Have they stopped that? Are these machines smarter now where like these things don't happen?
So they have cards, but they're not. I haven't heard of people skimming them. So I think they've gotten smarter, and most people are like mobile based now, because even if you are household income less than 30K, 70 to like 76% of that group has a smartphone. So it's like everyone's got smartphones, even if you're living paycheck to paycheck or below the poverty line. And so laundromat customers are able to pay with phones, are able to use loyalty points, et cetera. So that is helping a lot with the cash issue and the card issue.
What about transients coming in? And I guess having a person that's inside there is able to like mitigate that, right?
Well, for our laundromats, they're all full service. So you have self-serve customers coming in. You've got drop-off orders where someone drives in, they drop off a bag, they're going to come back later that day, the next day, 2 days later. And then you've got all the pickup and delivery volume. So we have so many different customers and revenue streams coming in that we can staff that
Okay, so it's
location
active.
all the time because there's always something to do.
How many employees do you have per location, or
So
in each location?
at our flagship, because we were doing so much
Yeah.
volume, we had 25 to 30 employees
What
across.
about the 3,000 square foot
The
location?
3,000, our franchise model is more like 6 to 13 employees, depending on how big they get, how much volume they're doing, how many shifts they have.
Do you have any locations in California?
None in California, just because the franchise laws here, there's a lot more kind of stringent. There's a lot more hoops you have to jump through, hurdles. So a lot of franchise brands wait on New York and California because there's so much to do in Florida, Texas, I mean, everywhere
I
else.
was trying to get a couple already.
Yeah, I was like, I'm ready. Let's do this. Let's sign up on.
But then some brands go ahead in, they're like, screw it, I'm going all into California because they are like California and New York are like some of the best markets, but it's just so what am I trying to say? Like regulatory restrictive.
Yeah, prohibitive. But that's a good thing. That kind of creates a moat around your business where it's so difficult to do business here that if you do decide to do business here, you can charge a premium for it because you don't have 4 other locations across the street and like a block away.
Yep.
You know, eating
and
away.
the water for laundromats specifically, like the water access here and the cost of opening new laundromats in some areas of California and Florida especially, they'll charge these tap fees. In Florida, there's some zip codes where I want to say it's like 4 to up to 10K per washer you have to pay. So if you got 30 washers, it's like, you just doubled the cost of getting into this business. And so again, it's a moat if you're already there, but for any new locations, it's so restrictive.
So in those states, would it make sense to buy an existing location and then rehab it?
100%.
What states are the best business friendly states for for the laundry business?
Texas.
Texas?
Yep. Texas is phenomenal. Some of the North Carolina.
And these are not passive businesses. Like you have to live in that state.
I think so. Like there's a lot of people that'll try to tell you, and same with franchising in general. You'll have some brokers or people trying to sell you, oh, you could get this, car wash. It's mailbox money, and anyone that says that, I would be very skeptical of. Maybe run the other way. I think any business, especially the first 6 to 12 months, you are putting in work. You got to find the right site. You got to build it out. You got to train the initial staff, and then maybe you can have a GM run the business while you're 5 hours a week on it, 10 hours a week on it.
So from your website, Franzy, you guys have the franchisors that are looking for customers, buyers, franchisees. You said you also have lending. What other ancillary businesses do you guys offer in there or have in there to help someone?
So we have franchise CPAs. So if you're looking at which entity should I form, in what state, is there any advantages, tax advantages there? And then for them to do bookkeeping for you on an ongoing basis. If you need an attorney to help you review the franchise agreement or the franchise disclosure document, we've got franchise-specific attorneys. One big mistake a lot of people make is they'll use their buddy or their cousin who's an attorney to review the franchise agreement.
You don't say.
All the time. And it's like, it'd be like you getting a divorce with a real estate attorney. It's just like it's a completely...
Or your dentist.
Yeah,
Because he knows a guy.
Completely different skills. Or it's like, and people do this with real estate too. You'll get this. It's like, oh, my cousin sells single family homes. I'm gonna have him help me buy a 4,000 square foot commercial. Yeah, and it's like very different deal structure, dynamics, negotiating, paperwork that you're filling out. And so our advice a lot of the time is use franchise experienced, franchise specific professionals because this is all they do. This is what they're good at. It doesn't cost anymore in most cases. It's just you want the right tool for the job. And so we have franchise attorneys, franchise CPAs, franchise focused commercial real estate folks. And even within that bucket, Class A, Barry's Boot Camp or Orange Theory is very different than an inline laundromat in Class C type of real estate. Different landlord type, different landlord stereotypes, different things you're negotiating. So Franzy's that one-stop shop to go find the right brand, find the right lender, find the right attorney, find the right CPA, find the right commercial.
And this is all free?
All free for the prospective buyer to use because the service providers are paying us. And again, we're upfront about that. They're giving us a little bit in referrals, but we're also only going to show the best ones because if they're bad, capitalism is going to do its thing, and the bad ones should fall off. They should get bad reviews, and all that's transparent and public on the platform.
How many subscribers do you guys have for that?
So we have, as far as prospective buyers, we have 30,000+ unique visitors a month coming to the site, filling out, it's called the Franzy Fit Score. That's the AI-powered recommendation engine. I joke, it's like a BuzzFeed thing, like figure out which Harry Potter character you are. It's like for us, it's like which brand fits your goals, again, your financial readiness, your operational experience the best. And then it's kind of like Tinder where you can like thumbs up, thumbs down brands. And we're just constantly learning, you know, like what's Brian's behavior on the site. And we haven't done it yet, but we want to start plugging into like even your social profiles, like what content are you consuming? What things do you like, not like, so that we can use that to recommend the best fit brand for you.
And how much did you guys raise for this app, the business?
So we raised 1.1 million last year to, you know, finish off and round out the database that we were building out and the product that we had built. And then we just closed a $2.5 million seed round.
At what valuation?
That was at a $16 million valuation.
How recently did you guys close this round?
It was like 3 weeks ago.
How are you guys, what platform are you using to raise?
So this one, I think it's just a lot to do with our network and our, I think, you know, serial entrepreneur track record to a degree. We know so many investors. What we're building is very timely because a lot of people are worried about AI disrupting white collar jobs. If you work on a computer, if you're an analyst, a banker, a lawyer, even a radiologist, the next few years, AI is likely going to become better than you are at your job. And so what are you going to do next?
You said from 5 years ago till now, you had $250,000 in building
Like 30
now it's 10 grand. So it's like, it's coming.
And even the tools that we're using 3 months ago, it's like they are vastly better 3 months, you know, later. And I can't even imagine Sam Altman, the guy who founded ChatGPT and OpenAI, they're about to release their GPT-5 model. And he's like, this is scary. I feel useless. And this is like one of the smartest people in the world. He's like, I feel useless.
Yeah.
And if he already feels useless, like, what about the rest of us that are like, just, using these tools for, kind of at our leisure. So I think very quickly people are going to have to enter this bet on yourself economy, and whether it's real estate or crypto or being in that top 30% that's using these tools on a regular basis, like you're still going to have a job if you're a banker, an attorney, et cetera. You can still have these jobs, but you better be damn good at using these tools or reinventing yourself and getting into ownership, whether it's a franchise, an independent business, a short-term rental. You have to be doing something that you control and that you're betting on yourself. Otherwise, I feel like you're going to get left behind.
Amazing.
Where can people find the company, Alex?
Yeah, so it's franzy.com, FRANZY.com.
How did you come up with the name?
Chris came up with the name. So we were looking for 2 syllables, something short, memorable with a .com available, and franzy.com was available.
Got it.
Our goal is to go outside of franchising eventually, though. All offline businesses could you buy and sell in this marketplace, but we're just starting with franchise businesses. And we do regular daily business breakdowns of franchises, interesting concepts. Like we covered a firework tent over the 4th of July. They do $50K in revenue in 10 days, hugely profitable. So we'll share stories like that on our social pages. So if you look up Alex from Franzy, we're doing breakdowns every day. If you follow us on LinkedIn, same thing, just constantly trying to get the message out about entrepreneurship and small business ownership.
I appreciate it. Thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Appreciate making it work.
Yeah, absolutely.